Hey, Jonathan here. Today I will share with you my approach for embedding a React app that uses all the modern tooling environment inside a plain old vanilla JavaScript or jQuery website. And we're going to use for this example one of those. This is Material UI for React. They have a bunch of examples here, so we're just gonna take one of them and we're gonna use it to simulate our React app. I'm gonna choose the sign-in example, which looks like this. Just a simple sign-in page, but it's written in React. And I'm just gonna go to the source code and get this ready, sign-in.js. So this is what we're gonna use for our demo. So we're going to start as if we're building a single page application with the create React app tool, and I'm going to call it React jQuery. And while this is running, we can actually talk about why we would want to do such a thing. So this is useful for these cases where you have a large website, an existing project, an existing code base, or you have a client that doesn't want to commit to converting a huge code base to React, or you don't have the resources, and you wanna maybe try out React, or you want to use some existing component, or start working with React instead of creating a huge project of converting the existing website. You can start creating new things, and you're actually sort of suffocating or starving the old project, so it can continue running as it is, but all new development goes to the to this methodology with React, or whatever you want to use. You can combine this with other frameworks as well. So this is a pretty handy method. So now that the script has finished, we're gonna open our new folder, React jQuery in VS Code. And the first thing I like to do is just run the thing and see that it actually works, that there's no environmental problems with the setup. So npm start. Okay, so this is the basic app. It's working. We have a working development environment. Now I'm just going to replace all of this boilerplate app with the boilerplate example from the sign-in template that we just opened. Let's open sign-in.js. We could use TypeScript as well. I'm going to copy all of it. And no, actually I'm going to put it in a new file and use it call it from app. So sign-in.js, and we're going to include it from the app. Excuse me, this is sign in, and we have the automatic import with tab. Okay, so now this should probably not compile because we don't have the necessary means to import the npm models. Get rid of the commas. Okay, so now we can go ahead and run this again with npm start, and let's see if it compiles. Shouldn't be a problem. Okay, great. So this is running. This is the demo sign-in page, and now we can get to the interesting part, which is making this React basically web app that we can develop with the React tooling. So Webpack and Bubble and minification and all of it. We want to load this from a plain website. So we're going to go to index.js, and this is where the React framework basically injects the component into the page. So we're getting an element root by ID, and we're calling the React render method. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to wrap this. So this all runs immediately upon the app loading. So I'm going to wrap this with a function, which I'm going to put in the global window scope, and I'm going to send it as an argument the root ID. So now instead of getting the element root, which is hard-coded, I'm going to get it from the argument. So this can be used to inject to any root that I want. And this is one step. And the second step is now we need to call this. So if I'm going to leave it like this and just gonna run it, I'm not going to see anything. And this is because now it's in a function, but no one is calling the render function. So I need to call it from the outside, right? So window dot load sign in with the same parameter, same argument root that was there before. Now I'm going to save it, and I can see it's loaded again. So this is working. But because we are going to be calling this method from an outside page, I actually don't want to load it on the script loading, because then it will just load automatically. I want to put all of this only if I'm in development mode. So because we're using create react app, we have the node env environment. And we can basically check if it's not production, then I'm going to load my React. So this is useful for development purposes. Now, when I'm in development mode, I can continue working on my React app. But when I'm in production mode, which we're gonna see right now, when I'm calling npm build, then it's not gonna run, and I'm gonna wait for someone from the host website to call this function. So I'm going to stop the npm run dev right now, and we can go ahead and call npm run build. So this obviously creates a production build, which will output to this build folder. And while this is running, we can start creating the host website. So again, I'm just going to create a very simple demo website for demonstration purposes, but this can obviously be a very large code base, very complex jQuery or whatever website. Let's put an HTML tag and a head and a body. Leave this blank for now. So I'm adding a div which will be the React root that will sit along with whatever else is on this page, and I'm going to add a button that will function as the loading of the React. So whenever I want to load the React component, I can click on it, load React, and what this is going to do is going to call window dot load sign-in. So this method that we exported from the React app, and we need to send it the ID of the root to load the React component, and that's basically it. Let's add doctype HTML. And so we can see the build has run successfully, and it's outputted. It has output 3 files. So the main.js, the chunk.js, and the CSS. And these are the files that we need to load into our index.html. So if I open this file with Alt-Shift-R, reveal, in Mac it's some different shortcut. So I can see the button, load React, does nothing because there's no script, right? Yeah, so it doesn't exist. So I'm going to add the script now and the CSS. So we need to direct it to the build folder and static CSS, this one. So that's the CSS, and let's add a loading of the JavaScript. What's interesting to notice is that this JavaScript contains everything, including the React engine. So you don't need to load React separately. It just contains everything you need, and this will in turn load the necessary chunks. So this is the only one I need to add. If I open this index again, load React, boom. So we see everything is working, no errors. And that's the basics of the solution, which is pretty simple actually. You might find it a bit difficult to handle these hashing of the JavaScript files, but depending on your deployment process of the website, you can come up with ways to either load all files in the directory or change the names of the files before deploying them, whatever is fitting your scenario. And this might actually be enough if your situation is that you need just a self-contained component that doesn't really interact with the host website. But if you do need to interact with it, for example, you want access to the current state of the component in order to get back data from that component, we need to augment this code a little bit with parameters. So currently, let's assume that I want to get the sign-in email from the component that I just created, and I want it back in the host website. So maybe I need to connect to the server or whatever. So how do I do that? Currently, I'm just loading the sign-in, and that's it. I have lost the reference to that object. So what I need to do is return something from this method, right? So I need to return an object that I can interact with, sort of a controller. So I'm going to add that now. Sign in component, which is just an empty object for now, and I need to return it from this method, sign in component. And here this returns the object. So currently it's just an empty object. We need to put the basically I want to add a getter method, but I can't access the state of the inner React components from here, right? So I need to send this object down into the basically the component chain as props in order to put the functions there. So I'm going to add a prop here. I called it sign in component. Into app. And I'm going to propagate it down into the sign in component, because that's where the data is. Add it as a prop here as well. And now I need to use that in order to create a method get email. That will return the current email. But I don't want basically I want to return the state, and the email is currently not saved in a state, so I'm just going to quickly add it as a state of the component. Use state, and the initialization value is an empty string. And now I need to basically just set that email whenever a user submits their password. So this is just an example code to demonstrate what you can do with this. Of course, it doesn't necessarily make sense to just return the email, but we can use this as an example. So now we have a function. Let's see if this compiles. So now we have a function get email that will be returned in the sign-in document that will be accessible from the outside from our index.html. So I can start writing the code here. I'm going to add another button. There will be get email. And I want to save this. I'm just going to use the global scope again. So I need to save the returned object, and I need to call sign in component dot get email. And I'm going to wrap this with an alert. An ugly alert, just to see it work. So this seems to compile fine in the dev mode. I'm going to stop it and create another production build. So now that this is built, I just need to change the main file, which was replaced with a new hash because the code of the JavaScript changed. Again, you can do something about that in your build process. And we're just gonna reload the page and see our get email button. Gonna add a test email as test.com. So I need to submit the form first so that the state will update. And now get email can get the current state of the inner React component and display it from the host website. So you can do a lot of things with this, whatever fits your use case. And that's about it. Hope you've enjoyed this, and see you for more.